To the Aftershock with Jamin Moore and Alex Morgan. I'm Phil Leyva, and we're joining you after a 2-1 victory for the San Jose Earthquakes at home at PayPal Park against the third place team, at least coming into this match, from the Eastern Conference and the Philadelphia Union, one of the better teams in the league. Alex Morgan, you're at the stadium. Let's get your take first.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that third place does it justice, Phil. Philadelphia Union could easily be the best team in Major League Soccer right now. They haven't lost a game in, I think, something like 10 matches.
2 months.
In 2 months now. So this
not since they got knocked out.
They've got like 7 wins and they haven't lost in quite a while. Yeah. I think they're like a 7-game run. Only in the CONCACAF Champions League, I think, has been their last loss, and then they were eliminated from the U.S. Open Cup on penalty kicks. So they've been really competitive.
Let's get it straight. This was a huge win for San Jose. This was a big win to propel them further up the Western Conference table against a really, really good team. They scored 2 really, really beautiful goals. And it was a fun atmosphere. The fans are I think, expecting to enjoy Earthquakes games at PayPal Park now. That's not something that we've had that expectation in past years. But I think now, with I think something like 6 of 7 victories at home, still undefeated at home this season, the crowd is coming expecting to win. The crowd is coming expecting the Earthquakes get 3 points and put on a show. And so that's really good news for this organization.
Jamin, you also watched the game from home, as I did this evening. Interested in what your thoughts are after seeing what you saw against this Philadelphia Union team, a really strong side. 3 points here.
Yeah, it was a fun game. And I would have said that, I think, even if it turned out as a draw, if it turned out as a loss, like, it was the most, I would say, up and down we've seen the Quakes play in a game in maybe 4 or 5 games. And they came out with a lot of energy. I really enjoyed that. The first part of the second half, they were a little flat, and then it picked up. And when it picked up, it really picked up. And it was quite interesting, through the Trauco banger. And tonight, I felt like, yes, at the very end, there were defensive subs, and they decided to hang on. And again, this is like around that 85th minute mark we talked about before. But what I did feel like is that after the goal, they kept trying to get that goal tonight. I think it's really hard to say that they didn't try to get a third goal tonight, because they did keep pushing forward. They did commit numbers a bit, at least up until those final defensive substitutes with Judson and Mensah, and who was it? Paul Marie, I think, came on as well, right? So, up until that point, they were still kind of going for that goal. And so, that was good, because I think, we've been concerned that, after they get that second goal and they get a lead, they kind of shut it down and go into defensive mode. And that happened, but it happened at the point that it should happen, which is when you have the game in hand and you don't want to take risks.
And I think that's because this is the first time in at least a few months you've really seen a full strength Earthquakes, Jamin. They had Hayden Hall returning tonight. They had Nico Shakiris on the bench, wasn't even used. They had depth tonight.
Yeah, they had Paul Marie and Jonathan Mensah on the bench tonight.
Starting quality players, maybe 4 if you count Benjamin Kanovich, who would be able to come in off the bench and make an impact and raise the intensity and raise the level. And so tonight you're seeing what it looks like to have depth for the first time. Now, don't get used to it. Quakes are going to have 4 or 5 international absences in the next few weeks. So they're going to get back to a tricky point where they're not going to have that depth coming off the bench. But this is, I think, a really, really good sign if you're starting to think about the playoffs. If you look at the odds makers who are saying 80-90% chance of making the playoffs now, if you're considering the playoffs as a possibility, this shows the kind of team that the Earthquakes can be when they have everyone available and when they're up against one of the top teams in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right about the depth, but the Quakes didn't actually make a sub until the 73rd minute, right? Which means they played up until that point with the starting 11 that Luchi Gonzalez put out there. And I think that's an important thing to consider as well, especially considering that both goals were scored prior to that. I mean, Miguel Traco, you mentioned this already, Jamin. He had that banger from outside the box that he scored in the 57th minute. One thing that I think is really important here is if you go back and look at the match, the first 10 minutes to 12 minutes leading up to that goal in the second half we saw the Quakes like moving the ball quite around the field and spreading the ball out. We saw them taking like really long passes, right? If those of us who were in the Slack chat tonight, we saw a lot of people commenting about Christian Espinosa's ball that he was sending across the field. We saw that quite a bit throughout. So it seemed to me like they were already making tactical decisions going into the second half that led to the goal. And yes, the depth is important, but I feel like there was a lot more to that as well. But Alex, I'm actually curious as to what you think about that, because one of the things that you also put into the Slack chat was the expected goals at the end of the first half, and it kind of told a different story here. I mean, the Quakes were competitive to the eye, but Philadelphia definitely had the stats going for them.
Yeah, I think it's worth kind of digging under the hood on this one, because I think the underlying performance might not be as positive as the results initially suggest. Now, perfectly willing to accept, look, this first 15 minutes, really strong. The Quakes looked gorgeous. When they're confident, when they're playing the ball, quick one touch through the middle, switching the field, finding the wingers, it's so fun to watch. And I got to give Lucha Gonzalez so much credit, because the way he's able to have this team passing like that, playing with so much confidence, playing with so much structure, able to find the right passing sequences and spaces, is really fun, and he deserves credit. But that's not really something that I latched onto so much, because we've seen the Earthquakes do that before. We've seen them do that for stretches against LAFC. We've seen them do that for stretches and in home games like the Sporting Kansas City. We know that they can do that. We know that they're capable of that. We know that Jamiro Montero, when he's got his swagger, he can play those backheel passes, and it's really fun and it's gorgeous. And he can play with Espinosa, and he can play with Ebobisse and get all the forwards involved. What really I think is critical if you're thinking about looking forward, how can the Earthquakes go from a good team to a great team? How can they go from a team that's making the playoffs to a team that's getting a home playoff spot? Is being able to control the game throughout 90 minutes. And I don't really think they did that tonight. If you look at the XG, I think that's pretty evident. I think that, Philadelphia Union had significantly more XG than the Earthquakes did throughout that game. I don't know what the final stats ended up being, but I think Philadelphia had over 1.5 XG, and the Quakes were only trending about 0.5 to 1 XG throughout the game. So Philadelphia definitely had more chances. They were definitely trying to take advantage of the space in behind Tanner Beeson, and they were able to create some solid opportunities. And really the only reason why the Earthquakes were able to stay in this game is because Danielle made at least 3 or 4 fantastic stops. And I mean, you look at the last 3 games, clean sheet against Seattle Sounders, clean sheet against Colorado Rapids, a victory tonight. The only reason the Quakes have been able to hold on to those results is because of Danielle. Those are 3 games in a row in which they've had significantly fewer XG than their opponents. They had 1 fewer XG against Colorado. They had 2 fewer XG against Seattle. The only reason they've been able to hold on to the results is because Danielle has been putting up huge stops and is probably candidate for their MVP this season, even though he's only been fit and in the starting lineup for the last few weeks now.
Jamin, you're nodding your head here. Thinking about the XG for both teams, both in the first half and in the second half, the possession stats as well, Danielle's performance. Are you in agreement with Alex here? I mean, Alex stated twice, maybe 3 times, that the only reason why the Quakes are in these matches and getting the points is because of Daniel. Do you agree with that?
I'm not sure he's the only reason, but
Phil's trying to corner me here.
Yeah, but let's.
I'm just moderating, Alex. That's what I'm here for.
Sure,
Phil.
Phil.
Let's have a bit of a conversation here, because look, your San Jose Earthquakes, folks, have given up only 2 goals in the last 4 games, and 2 of those were away games. So that has not happened. I now have to go back before 2015 to figure out when this has happened. But if you're wondering why Jonathan Mensah is not playing right now, I think it's because Lucha Gonzalez has a 4-leaf clover and is like, he dares not touch right now Daniel and Rodriguez and Beeson. They're his lucky charms right now. They're his lucky charms. And you might be going like, yeah, but there's all these other situations. Right now, he's like, yeah, it's kind of working. I'm not
That's
sure.
a very convenient way to explain Mensah's benching in this match, Jamin.
Jamin, what's happened? I thought Jamin was the cold-hearted, pure data guy. Looking at only the actually. When did our roles reverse here, Jamin?
I want Jonathan Mensah back in. Absolutely, I want Jonathan Mensah back in. I think he should be starting, over Beeson. He's much more athletic. He's better in the air. Maybe they don't score on that corner if Mensah's in there. There's so much I think that he does add. But look, we still don't know if the benching is a part of what he's got to do in order to make up for whatever he did that the team is not telling us, right? So I have to allow for that. And then unless Luchi Gonzalez says otherwise and says, no, I think Beeson's outplaying Mensah in practices. And so, I'm playing him because, he's right now, he's the better player for us. I got to give some leeway that this might still be, because, of whatever happened between Mensah and the team.
I'm still really confused. I'm still confused, Jamin, because
it's working. I'm air quoting here, but it's working.
Here's the
thing. Points.
Here's the thing. It's not working because what?
No, you got 8 points. How can you say that?
What Philadelphia Union did is they put Carranza, they put their number 9 on Tanner Beeson, and all of their chances came from Carranza trying to get him behind Tanner Beeson, trying to find space, trying to drag him out of position. They knew he was a weakness, and they did a pretty good job at exploiting it, and they did exploit it. The only reason that they didn't score those goals is because of Danielle on goal and a little bit of luck. So as a strategy, that did not work.
Hang on, except for the cutback that went over the bar, okay? In every other situation, Beeson actually manned him up pretty well.
That's what I was about to say.
And you can disagree all you want to.
I agree with you on this one.
You're a forward. You're not a defender. My son.
As a forward, I know where the defender should be, Jamin.
My son is sitting there going, I know what Alex is going to say. He's going to say Beeson should have done better there. Beeson is giving them such low percentage opportunities right now because he is forcing them into the low percentage toward the sideline. Daniel's got the post cut off. Good saves from Daniel. Like, it really wasn't a problem. Yes, the ball that Carranza put over the bar absolutely should have been in the back of the net. I completely agree.
Well, so here's actually the other thing I was mostly confused about, because look, I think honestly,
the fans can weigh in. I think people think he's been pretty good though.
And look, I'm willing to admit that. Look, he is a backup center back, and as a backup center back in Major League Soccer, he's come in and he's done a solid job. Yeah. Right? This is not Tanner Beeson's fault. Any of this, he's done the job that he's been asked to do, which is to step up into these games and help the Earthquakes win games. That's clear. What I was confused by and surprised by tonight was that Luchi Gonzalez didn't put on Jonathan Mensah alongside Tanner Beeson earlier than he did. Because what we've seen in past games is that Luchi Gonzalez will bring on a third center back and go 5 at the back in these late game situations. And it was fairly obvious to me from the 70th minute that Tanner Beeson was struggling, that Tanner Beeson was getting targeted.
Oh, I think he should have been
the Philadelphia Union were getting chances. Mm-hmm. And so I think I was really surprised that Jonathan Mensah was the last sub that didn't happen until like the 87th minute, because there were at least 10 minutes. It was obvious he needed to be brought on, and Luchi Gonzalez didn't do it. And so my question is, why are you waiting to the 85th minute? If he's able to come on in the 85th minute, then clearly there's no longer any issue with like the discipline issue. If he's going to play in the 85th minute, he might as well have played in the 75th minute.
Feel free to ask Luchi Gonzalez. This is why we have a show.
That sounds like it's a question for the coach. Exactly,
Alex. So if you want to take a win and focus on why Jonathan Mensah is not on the pitch, and that's the question you want to ask Luchi Gonzalez tonight, by all means, because I'm not going to ask that question.
We ask the hard hitting questions on the Aftershock show. I don't know why you're shying away.
I'm actually surprised he answers those questions, because I feel like oftentimes those player choice questions aren't the ones that the coaches want to. They hate those questions, right? But it's
like you're not in practice every single day. You're not seeing everything I'm seeing. You see 10%. I see the other 90%. Mm-hmm. You don't know what you're talking about, and they're probably right.
Well, I've seen 100% of Tanner Beeson on the field today, and I know that Jonathan Mensah has proved that he's a better option.
Right. Like, if he's available for match 7, why wait until the end of the match to do that? So Jamin might actually be onto something here, as unlikely as it seems to me that, like, he might just be playing the hot hand for a moment here. But I think the more likely thing here, Alex, and I think you're kind of implying this, is there might be a knock or something or that we don't quite know about, and there's a reason why he wasn't brought in earlier. But I would like to shift the conversation over here a bit to Cade Cowell, because Cade has been with the U.S. men's U20 national team playing in the U20 World Cup, and he just returned alongside Nico Chikaris, and Cade gets the start here, right? And we see right away that pay dividends. He gets the assist on the goal to Jeremy Ebobisse. He kind of, I think, Alex, you had mentioned on the last show that Cade Cowell does things for the team that Benji Kikanovic doesn't quite do in terms of opening up space for Christian Espinoza. I'd like you, or if you could, kind of follow up on those comments that you made and talk about your view of Cade Cowell's
Everyone,
I think we have to go to the presser first.
press conference, starting with a question from Alex Morgan.
Hi, Lucci. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's good to speak with you. What are your thoughts about this one, Lucci? Because obviously it's a big win against a team that is one of the best, if not the best team in Major League Soccer right now. But then also you look at the XG, and it's the third game in a row where you guys have underperformed. Sorry, I think I got muted there. Have you been able to hear me? Have you been following?
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay, solid. So yeah, the question is how you're processing this one, how you see this one, what you think about the performance in the XG.
Yeah, look, we always want to do well in XG because it means our intentions are good, attacking wise, and we're creating volume around the opposition's goal, right? So, we're always going to want to improve ourselves in XG if it's not the high standard. But at the end of the day, we put away our chances, and that's the most important, right? So I thought we were efficient in the chances we had. We showed high quality in our finishes. Both of them were excellent goals. And the way we saw the game out there, the last 10, 15, of course they were going to commit numbers. This is one of the best teams in the league. They have a triad of the front two, Ure and Carranza, and then and Gazdag underneath. I mean, those are three lethal players that we had to deal with. So look, defensively, I'm really proud of the guys in the run of play, defend well. I know we conceded on a corner, but in the run of play, defended well, covered each other, and handled those three guys and found a way to win. So these are not easy games. You got to grind through them and find a way. But I'm proud that we put away our chances. But yeah, look, XG is important to me as a coach and to us. We talk about it, and we want to improve it. But these games are never that easy, and it's about the circumstances too, right? We score that goal, and all of a sudden we have to defend. We have to be defensively sound to close the game.
Next up, Michael Robertson.
All right, Coach. You had Jeremy score that goal first 8 minutes of the game. Then they get another goal to tie it up, and then you guys get the go ahead. But in this circumstance, you guys were able to hold on to that lead and definitely not have a situation happen where they score with extra time. So how gratifying was it to hold on to the lead and not have to deal with that bugaboo of giving up a goal during extra time?
Yeah, look, all team. I mean, if you look at the schedule today and the outcomes, I think most of the games had goals in stoppage time. It's part of the game. There's more stoppage time now than ever. Teams push. They want to push when they're down. It's the circumstances of the game we play. Look at the World Cup. How many goals were scored in stoppage time? So it's part of the game. We've been on the wrong side of that more than we would like, of course. But recently, I think we've just talked about it, reflect on it, and taking it very personal and focused on it as a team. Like, how can we make it our strength? How can we make it San Jose's time, stoppage time, where we're focused, where we're excited? We've worked hard to put ourselves in that position. And now we're excited to get the job done. And I think we've kind of ourselves intentionally as a team try to turn that script, turn that mentality and approach to it so that we show more courage in it. But it's all a process. Every game is going to be a little bit different. And we've got to be ready to adapt. But proud of our guys. Look, yeah, they scored, they tied it. At half, we talked about being more clinical in the attacking third to create and actually put balls in the box and run in the box. And then defensively, like, let's make some adjustments so we can get pressure on the ball because they're hitting some good diagonals and they're not easy to play against. This is a team that's very vertical, and they play with those front three. They play off those front three, and they've been effective in the league. So we had to bring a better level second half, and I thought we did that.
That's a good question from Jamie Moore.
Unmuted.
Hey, Lucci. Congratulations on the win. One of the things that's just impressing me right now is the defense. 2 goals in the last 4 games. Honestly, I think I got to go back to 2012 maybe, but in order to find the last time that the team did that over a 4-game stretch. So you must be happy with the defensive performance. Hard to even pick one person out. They all seem to produce tonight, but obviously Miguel Traco got the goal. Can you talk about giving Miguel that start tonight, given all healthy options in your outside backs, and how he stepped up, and including the goal, of course, but just overall what you felt about the defensive performance. Thank you.
Muted.
Yeah, I agree. I think defensively we've made a great team commitment these games, and that's been the idea and effort since preseason. But I would say we have the boys have shown a great attitude to keep adjusting and take pride in being more connected, more compact, and from that compactness build pressure and try to recover the ball, and most importantly not concede right near our box. So everyone's got a role in that. And Daniel certainly has also been great stepping it up as well, doing his part. So grabbing the collective and the pride in that, and how all of us players need to be defensively ready. If we're going to be good defensively, it's going to then allow us opportunities to score, and then we can be better offensively. You guys still there?
Yeah, we're here.
Unmuted.
Okay.
Muted.
The screen changed. Okay. Yeah. So I hope I answered the question. Jamin, you asked that, right?
Unmuted.
Yeah, I did, Lucci. Thank you. Yeah, I was.
What was the last part of your question? Sorry, I got cut off.
I think it was just around the overall defensive performance, and credit to the team, and I appreciate the comment about Daniel. Maybe elaborate a little bit more. He's come in these 4 games, on a per 96 basis. He's leading the league in expected saves over expected. So he's clearly been very important for you through this stretch. You want to elaborate maybe a little bit more about Daniel and these opportunities, and how he's been taking them the last 4 games?
Yeah, look, it goes back to our objective. Our objective in the offseason was bring competition in goal, and bring a goalkeeper coach. And we think those things have been positive. And Daniel's been staying healthy, and him and JT are great teammates. They push each other every day in training on and off the field. So that's an area we want to keep trying to improve, and so proud of that area, the goalkeeping area. And Daniel is stepping it up, adapting to our league, and having another positive performance like tonight. And then I will say this, like Carlos Gresso was also really an important piece in the offseason to add in terms of a ball recovery defensive mid player that helps others, do their job better. His ability to recover balls and protect the center backs, protect the midfield, and just show bite and intensity in there. And then also on the ball, just connect, and be a player that can bounce out. And I think that's also helped us in our defensive stability. So I'll give a shout out to that player as well. But look, you mentioned Miguel, and then you got Miguel, Paul, Capo, Tommy in the rotation when needed. Tanner can even play. So like I think we have some good competition and guys that are doing well, stepping up for the team in the back line as well. Give credit to Tanner, maybe not getting minutes early in the season, but recently having really good defensive performances, good leadership, communication, and helping us do a job like tonight.
Let's take a second question from Alex Morgan before switching to the Spanish portion.
Yeah, I just briefly want to follow up on Tanner and kind of understand what the status of that position is. We saw Mensah come on late in the game, and I'm curious if he's still undergoing kind of a process of making things up with the team, or if there's a lack of match fitness there that would explain why he might not be getting more minutes in some of these games. And you know, also thinking about that in the context of the way this team is defending in the second half, which we've talked about, you know, a lot recently, and you know, trying not to drop into the instant block. And it seemed like that was more successful tonight. Like the team was able to push forward more in the second half and kind of manage that game better.
Yeah, I agree. Look, again, going back, Tanner has been working his butt off and been showing he's ready and has stepped it up for this team. And I'm confident he'll continue to do that. Jonah got in the game, which was great today, to help us do the defensive job. Jonah's been really important for us as well defensively, with his experience, his maturity, his communication, and his ability, obviously. And so now, you know, knowing that we've got multiple players in the back line, whether it's rotation or injury, whatever, call-ups, international duty, like we're confident these guys can step it up, and they're showing that, starting or not. And yeah, the stoppage time part. Yeah, look, one of the things we want to improve in stoppage, if we have a lead and teams are pushing numbers against us, is okay. We were in a low block defending crosses and showing compactness to protect the box, but eventually we got pressure on them. We went from low block to mid block, even creating high press moments. The last 2.5, 3 minutes were in their half, and we were managing that. And I thought we did this much better this game. And that's important. We're not just sitting low and inviting them to attack us. We build pressure, and that's something we want to keep growing and building on.
And right, just to clarify on Mensah, is he 100% back yet, or is there still kind of a process of working him back?
Yeah, no, he's 100% back.
Okay, solid. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's do 2 more questions now in Spanish. Let's begin with the question from Carlos Ucis, and then we'll finish up with Pablo Maruri. Carlos, can you hear us?
Hello, ¿me oyen?
Sí.
Luchi, primero, más que pregunta, es una felicitación por el trabajo, por la victoria, una victoria importantísima. Y segundo, la parte que sí es una pregunta, ¿cómo sirve esta victoria frente a un equipo importante, frente a un equipo finalista el año pasado? Sobre todo porque vienen varios juegos en casa, ¿no? Hablábamos a media semana que ganar los juegos en casa es importantísimo, y anímicamente esto tiene que ser un revulsivo, ¿no? Algo que te ayuda para seguir adelante.
Mira, el grupo en casa, y gracias, Carlos, gracias. El grupo en casa quiere proteger el estadio, sus familias, los fanáticos, y con energía. Y nunca perfecto, ¿no? Son partidos muy difíciles. Filadelfia es muy buen equipo, atacan bien, nos crearon problemas, pero creo que resolvemos, pusimos buena actitud. Aunque no metieron el gol de empate en mitad de tiempo, hablamos de subir nuestro nivel, nuestra calidad. Vamos a ser un poco más organizados defensivamente, porque ellos hicieron un cambio también. Cuando salió Damian Lowe, ellos hicieron de 3 centrales, fueron a 2, y tuvimos que ajustar nosotros también cómo vamos a presionar y defender. Pero los chicos para mí subieron el nivel y conseguimos los goles, ¿no? Para ganar. Y al final manejamos bien el partido, y muy orgulloso de los muchachos, muy orgullosos, somos de buen espíritu colectivo de equipo, muy abiertos para seguir mejorando en los videos, en las prácticas, y pusieron mucha actitud y intensidad en el segundo tiempo para responder y sacar la victoria.
And last question with Pablo Maruri.
Muy buenas noches, felicitaciones por la victoria. Me gustaría hablar del momento en el que se presentó ese trabajo colectivo en la segunda parte, para ayudar a anotar el segundo gol, cuando Miguel Traco pues anotó ese golazo, ¿no? Y también me gustaría preguntar qué le parece la energía que traía a cabo número 44 y el rendimiento y su aporte al equipo. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
No, muy bien, el gol de Miguel, qué golazo, qué calidad, qué técnica. Y bueno, lo celebré como un niño, porque fue muy lindo la jugada. Pero mira, como dijiste, al final el grupo hizo un trabajo para manejar los tiempos, manejar que ellos estaban mandando números y atacando, y creo que los chicos intencionalmente lo hemos trabajado con situaciones en las prácticas y queríamos mejorarlo y lo hicieron y muy orgulloso de ellos, muy orgulloso, lo merecieron. Y mira, lo de Cade, claro, como tú dijiste, trajo mucha energía en el partido, lo extrañamos cuando estaba con el sub-20, pero está con mucha energía, es un jugador muy peligroso, muy joven, que crea situaciones que afecta el juego en ataque, y puso mucho esfuerzo también defensivamente, poner su presión, conectarse en los bloques, y puso buenos minutos, y es muy bueno tenerlo de vuelta con el equipo.
All right, thank you everyone for the questions. Give us a couple minutes. We'll have Miguel Traco here with us.
Good night, buenas noches.
Great. We're going to have Miguel Traco to join us here. That's going to be exciting, considering he scored the banger tonight. So why don't we go ahead and reflect on some of the stuff that Lucci was talking about? Alex, you asked the question here that I think a lot of folks would hesitate to, considering it was a player choice question, but you went for it twice. You went right for the heart. So what do you think, man? You asked the question about Jonathan Mensah. Are you satisfied with the response?
When did Jamin Moore turn into a lot of folks not wanting to ask that question? I feel like I'm getting ganged up on here. Look, I think
people wanted you to ask it. You asked it.
Yeah, you asked it. It's
I just thought it was a throwaway question because I don't think he's.
I don't think it's
going to answer.
I don't think the coaches don't tend to directly respond to those types of questions in pressers, though. I think Jamin's right.
If you'd asked a player choice question to Almeida, Alex, you know exactly how that would have.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a trauma there. Like I think journalists don't ask those questions because of that.
I would have asked Matias Almeida because Matias Almeida would have given an entertaining answer, an entertaining
because
response.
You were his favorite journalist, apparently, too, right? Let's not forget that.
Even if he didn't give us a hard yes or no, he'd say something fun. So look, I thought it was good to get that answer. Jonathan Mensah is 100% back. So whatever decisions that he's making is not based on fitness. It's not based on discipline. It's based on what he was seeing on the field. And it sounds like maybe Jamin's right. Maybe there is a little bit of, keeping the lucky streak alive while it lasts and not changing something that isn't broken. So, if that is how he sees it, I think that's important to know. And that's important to know going into, next week and this remaining stretch of form. So it was good to get that answer. And then I think he's absolutely right. Tried to frame it in the context of the broader defensive performance in the second half, and the fact that the Earthquakes were able to accomplish something that, they hadn't in previous matches. And they were able to, keep their numbers pushed forward. They were able to manage the game better than they have recently, because we've seen them all too often. And Luchi Gonzalez has admitted this, drop into an instant block, 60th minute, the minute they score, the minute they go up. And that didn't happen tonight. And they were able to manage the game much more effectively in that second half. And so that was important.
One of the keys that that Lucci brought up, because Jamin did ask him about the 2 goals in 4 games, and Jamin, in response to your question, he made sure to shout out Carlos Grueso as well. Interested in your take on the response to your question that you had about the defensive organization and their ability to prevent goals.
Yeah, I felt like Lucci kind of got defensive on the first 2 questions, to Alex's question and the one asked after that. So I actually tried to set him up so he could gloat a little bit, to be quite honest. But I mean, let's be honest though. Yeah, the defense has been good. Daniel has been good. Trauco was good tonight. Starting him was the right decision. I do like, as I said on the show before, I've been very clear about it. I do like having a left-footed outside back when you're going to play a right-footed inverted winger. I think otherwise they end up getting in each other's space too much. And, like, for instance, tonight, there was a nice cutback from Espinoza, and Jeremy and Montero both made the exact same run, ended up in the exact same place, and there's nobody to get this beautiful cutback because 2 right-footed or 2 people took the same direction. What happens, and I know Jeremy's left-footed, but he took the right direction. So what happens on the wing side is that they often are both coming in, and then there's no width, and so it's easy to defend. And what I felt is that by bringing on Trauco, it forced the defenders to have to play Cade and Trauco more honestly. And because of that, it opens up a bit more space. So it's not as easy to choose to double and triple team Cade because you got to worry about Trauco in the space that he's occupying as well. I think that was really important. But Trauco, to his credit, also does come inside quite a bit. He kind of fancies himself as another 8 at times. We saw this against LAFC. The goal that he scored there was from a very similar spot. He likes to move inside, and I don't think that they necessarily expect that from him being left-footed. So he keeps his width when he needs to keep his width. He comes inside when he needs to come inside. I think he does a really good job of those two things. And honestly, give him the flowers for tonight because that was quite a goal.
Look, guys, and it's really hard, this fullback conundrum that the Earthquakes have, because Paul Marie, Trauco, Carlos Capo are all taking turns being man of the match here. They've all been playing fantastically this season. The Quakes have an embarrassment of riches at this fullback position. They're all capable of scoring from outside the box. They're all capable of whipping a ball in. And the thing that Trauco does really well that we saw tonight as well was switch the play. He can do anything he wants on that left foot. He's switching the ball really well, and that's dangerous because who do you have on the other side? You got Christian Espinosa on the other side. And if you can find Christian Espinosa with a 40-yard diagonal ball in space, that is a really dangerous weapon to have. So Trauco was really, really, really solid tonight. And I also want to talk about Cade Cowell, because that's where we were going right before the press conference, Phil. Cade Cowell, this is a Cade Cowell that has his confidence back, that has his swagger back. Maybe we should have him play with the U20s more often, go and dominate those teenagers, and then come back to Major League Soccer. And when he has the ball at his feet, he now looks like he wants to take players on. He now looks like he wants to go forward. He looked like a shell of himself before the tournament. He looked underconfident. He looked like he was lacking the confidence in his abilities to take on players. He has that now. You saw in the first 5 minutes, he had energy. He was lively. He was taking players on, and he got the assist early in the game. And even though his technique isn't great, even though in that goal situation he should have gone by the defender and then taken a shot on target, he's still causing problems. And that's what makes Cade Cowell such an upgrade over Benji Kikanovic. And that's what I came to appreciate. I kind of had the realization last weekend that Benji Kikanovic isn't causing problems in the same way. He's not.
I felt validated when I heard that, Alex. I had to say, because I had mentioned that. I had said that in a couple of shows prior, and it felt really validating. But I want to add something.
You don't need my validation, Phil. You don't need my validation.
I want to talk about something here that you kind of grazed over that I think was really important, that Jamin made a point of in the Slack, and he also made a point of on his Twitter account as well, which is Cade Cowell's patience when he had the ball in that position, because we oftentimes have seen Cade either try to take on the defenders directly or try to send in a cross that really didn't allow for the play to develop behind him. And Jamin, maybe you can kind of talk us through this a little bit in terms of what Cowell's decision was and how it led to the goal.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about before when we were saying that we needed to have those trailing runners in that situation. It's exactly what we got. Like, that is the definition of how to do a trailing run. What Ebobisse did there was, I can't remember, I think it was Montero that was actually leading on the break there. And Montero stretched the defensive line back to leave space. Not only did Jibo trail the play, he also tailed off the play to allow the ball to come in front of him so he could step into it. That's the really smart thing to do, because there's a later point in time where the ball came across on another type of cutback, and you saw Jeremy have to reach back for it, and it doesn't come. By staying behind the ball, that opportunity to be able to step forward to get to the ball is really important. So hang on, Alex, let me just finish it out. So the really good thing here is not only was Cade good and patient, but the Quakes also did a really good job in the runs that they needed to make, because how many fast breaks have they had this season that have not come off, even with a shot? And so in that situation, that was a very Philadelphia Union-esque type transition right there.
And the fun thing is, I actually think in an ideal world, Cade Cowell would be getting in and taking the shot or getting a cutback, and all of the runners would need to be crashing the 6-yard box. I think that's the ideal situation. But it's funny because it almost feels like Jeremy Ebobisse was predicting that Cade Cowell would not be able to beat his man and intentionally held up his run a little bit later.
To come back and support him.
That Cade Cowell was not going to win that duel, and he knew that the ball was going to have to be recycled to the top of the box. And if that's the strategy the Earthquakes need to take, that's great. Honestly, that feels like actually a really great adjustment to make, because 9 times out of 10, Cade Cowell is not winning that 1v1 duel. So then you adjust. Then you have the deeper runs. Then you have the supporting runs. Maybe you give him an overlap run, and that feels like a good solution. I don't know.
Hey, I wanted to take a moment here to go ahead and talk about QuakesEpicenter.com before we get Miguel Traco in here for the last part of the press conference. I'd like to invite everybody to visit QuakesEpicenter.com. That is our host website for our organization for the Aftershock podcast and post-game show. And if you look on the bottom of the screen here, you can see the exact URL for our Patreon. So if you go to QuakesEpicenter.com/Patreon, you can find the place where you can get early access to our articles and some of the other media that we have on there, including footage from our photographer Sarah, including some of the videos that come up on there, like scouting type of videos and whatnot. So we have those available, early access for our patrons. We also have, for $5 a month, you can get access to our Slack, which we have been referencing throughout the show, right? You get our hot takes during the match,
stuff happens
during
there.
the week. It's a lot of fun. Colin is on there. Asher is on there. All of our contributors are there. They're active. There was a lot of chatter today during the match. Alex, what do you think?
Well, Phil was cooking in the Slack tonight. Phil was absolutely
Normally I don't.
cooking. There were references to Dom Kinnear tonight. There were obscure Earthquakes
That's not
being
obscure.
thrown around in the Slack.
That's not obscure. That's not obscure to anybody who's been watching MLS for the last 15 years.
No. Phil, Dom Kinnear is the pre-Messi era. We're in the post-Messi.
Okay, so that's the other thing I
I
wanted to talk about. So if there was a really great discussion about Lionel Messi coming to the league, because he's going to be, for those of you who've been living under a rock, Lionel Messi is coming to Major League Soccer. He's going to be playing for Inter Miami. Jamin had a conversation with Joel Soria, who returned to Quakes Epicenter after a hiatus. And I haven't watched it all the way through.
That's done big numbers. We're over 400 views on that thing.
Perfect.
People. I'm not sure. Do people love Messi or do people love Joel?
It's Joel.
But I think it's a bit of both. Anyway, if you've not seen it yet, absolutely check out.
Check it out. It's great.
Talk with Joel Soria. Talked about some Messi. Talked about some Quakes. Talked a good bit about Cade and his impressions from the U20 World Cup. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, so make sure you check that out. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel here. Follow us on social media at Quakes Epicenter on Instagram and on Twitter. And I think now we can get back into the conversation, unless you have something else you want to add here, Alex.
I'll add that, what we do with that Patreon money is we make this show happen, and we use it sometimes to fund some travel. So if you want us to get in on the Messi circus and maybe visit an MLS All-Star game here up next month, I think Christian Espinosa's got to be on that squad. Most likely, Messi is probably going to be there. Then that's what your Patreon money is contributing toward, to get some of the Messi eyeballs on the San Jose Earthquakes. He'll be on the same team. Christian Espinosa and Messi will be teammates, right?
I don't think Messi is going to be playing in that game.
I don't know, man. Frank Lampard put on the MLS All-Star team right after he joined the league in a similar situation.
Yeah, but he's not supposed to show up until late July, and or even August. So.
I thought he already touched down in Miami.
No, but in terms of playing, he's doing an extended vacation. He's not going to show up. Leagues Cup is the very earliest, and the All-Star games before Leagues Cup.
We know that Christian Espinosa and Messi are former Argentina national team teammates. There's a photo way back in the archives. Christian Espinosa as like a U20 Argentina player playing alongside Messi. So if Messi is not enticed by the opportunity of playing alongside his fellow, Argentina national team players, I don't know what's going to get Messi to go to the All-Star game.
Yeah, well, he's certainly enticed by playing against Thiago Almada, one of the rivals of the team that he's going to be playing for in the Southern U.S. So there's a lot of exciting things to look forward to there. All right, I think we should redirect it back over to the game here. We're going to be getting Miguel Traco here in a few minutes. You guys want to kind of like give us a little bit of a preview as to what you plan to ask Miguel and perhaps what we can get out of that conversation. Jamin, why don't you lead us off there?
Yeah, it depends on who gets to ask the first question. Obviously, we want to talk about the goal. Always good when they get a goal scorer on to be able to talk through what they're seeing and that particular shot. What I really appreciated on that shot was the technique to hit that. It's such a knuckle, and it just froze Andre Blake. That was just beautiful. I don't know if Blake didn't see it, or just just did not expect that. The knuckle on it was perfect. Like, there's very few times in a game where you see a ball struck that well. And, Miguel had the shot of the night for sure. I mean, obviously, Zelarayan's probably going to get the goal of the week. Not much you can do when you
it is a banger.
Stoppage time goal from over half field. But, if you take that one away, he's definitely got to be up there.
Here's the question.
All the fullbacks, Alex, have scored bangers for this team now, right? We've gotten them from all three of them.
Was this goal of the season? I'm struggling to think of a goal that I would take over that. Is that where you'd rank this one? I think it's got to be my goal of the season.
Well, close. Jackson's was pretty good too, but I think you're right. Like this one might be a little bit above that one. Yeah. This might be the best banger since Paul Maurice.
Yeah,
maybe. It's close.
Christian Espinosa's had some rifles, but none of them settled into the back of the net.
Well, so no,
quite as satisfyingly.
Remember, he had the one against Colorado where it hit the crossbar first, and then he came back and he scored later in the game. But that was a deflection too, and that was one of the reasons I think his came off as well as it did. So yeah, I mean, I would probably give it to Traco at this point.
Yeah, I think so. And it edges out, like, to me, one of the better goals of the season was the Carlos Acapo goal in the beginning of the season. I thought just the angle alone and like the build up to that, like maybe not the shot taken itself, but the build up on that goal is noteworthy as well. But yeah, I agree with you, Alex. I think this is the goal of the season for the team so far.
And we've seen some good like build up team goals. Their goal, the first goal against LAFC in the 2-1 victory, I think was a great example of the Quakes playing quickly up the field. One touch, two touch, switching the ball, and then finding a good cutback. If you ask Luchi Gonzalez, I think Luchi Gonzalez is probably taking those goals over these long distance bangers.
Stu is volunteering. Stu is volunteering to get a media credential and to be our photographer at the All-Star game. So, as everyone knows, Stu is a very, very good photographer. If you've not checked out his account, he's always got some great photos of San Francisco to see.
Well, if Stu can secure the Messi interview, then he's got the media credential 100%.
There you go, Stu. So get the Messi interview. We will make sure you get the credential.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, cool. So we're definitely asking about the goal. Alex, anything else you want to add in terms of our anticipating Miguel Traco's appearance here with us in the next few minutes?
Yeah, I want to ask him about how he sees his role in the buildup and which balls he's looking for, and how he sees his role in going forward in this offense and playing alongside Cade Cowell, which is, a combination, as Jamin was noting, that we haven't seen every game. And so I want to get a sense of how comfortable he feels stepping into the midfield more, because that was something that we saw tonight that I think was noteworthy and gives the Earthquakes another option going forward. I mean, you want the perfect example of it today. If anyone watched the Champions League final, you see John Stones, a center back, playing on the right side, stepping up into the middle. Maybe we can get some of that with Miguel Traco.
All right, we got now Miguel Traco available, ready to go. He will be answering in Spanish, and I will help translate back and forth. So let's take a first question from Jim and Moore this time around.
Unmuted.
Hi, Miguel. Congratulations on the win and congratulations on the goal. It might be the Earthquakes' goal of the season so far. Got the win tonight. But talk us through, what you saw, the opening that you saw to be able to hit that shot and the confidence you had to hit it with. Thanks.
Muted.
Dice que Chanson es el mejor gol del año para los Quakes ahorita, por lo que da la temporada. Que le platiques un poco más de cómo fue tu visión, qué viste, qué sentiste en el momento para tomar el disparo y últimamente para que se marcara gol.
Dale, muchas gracias por las felicitaciones. Bueno, no, en realidad esos son momentos del partido, ¿no? Siempre que me queda frente al arco trato de patear porque sé que tengo buena pegada, así que en esa hice buen control y no lo pensé, ¿no? Así que fui con la convicción en que tenía que patear al arco y salió un bonito gol. Y lo más importante es que nos ayudó con los 3 puntos, ¿no? Eso es lo que me deja más feliz.
I think it's mostly about just in the spirit of the moment. You kind of just sense that it's the right time, and in that moment, I went ahead and just kind of had that feeling. I was able to have good ball control of the incoming ball, and I decided to take a shot, and luckily it went in. Most importantly, it benefited the team, and it got us the win tonight. Next up, we'll go with a question from Michael Robertson.
All right, buenas noches. All right, my question would be, you guys took the lead with Jeremy, and then they tied it up. Then your goal, you took the lead, which ended up being the game winner. But how confident were you guys that you guys would be able to hold on to that lead, especially when you get to the extra time where you guys have given up either leads or lost a game in extra time? So how confident were you to hold on to that lead of your game-winning shot?
Dice que primero el equipo comenzó ganando con el gol de Jeremy y luego vino el empate y luego también pudiste meter tu gol y iban ganando en el transcurso después del gol tuyo. Su pregunta es, ¿qué tanta confianza tenía el equipo en ese momento cuando iban liderando con tu gol? Ya que en partidos pasados a veces se les ha caído esa ventaja o han empatado.
Sí, bueno, en la semana tratamos de manejar esos detalles, ¿no? Porque ya nos pasó 2 partidos seguidos contra Los Ángeles FC y contra, ¿cómo se llama? Contra Dallas, que nos hicieron los goles en los últimos minutos. Entonces, es algo que ya lo estamos trabajando, también lo venimos hablando entre nosotros, así que ahora tenemos más cuidado con ese detalle, ¿no? Que es mantenernos concentrados hasta los 90 y tantos. Así que es algo que ya se viene hablando y bueno, lo tenemos trabajado.
Yeah, those are the little details that we keep working on throughout the week. It's something that we're aware of. We talk about it amongst the team and the coaches and the players. Something like that already happened to us in one of the 2 previous games against LAFC and at home against FC Dallas. So we're still working through those details in order to fix those and be able to do better and improve on for the rest of the season. Next question, Alex Morgan.
Hi, Miguel. Congratulations on the victory and on the goal. I want to ask about your role in the attack, because it feels like you were able to connect a lot of passes tonight. You were able to hit the long balls, the diagonals to Christian Espinosa, and you were also able to find Jeremy Ebobisse on the ball and connect the defense and the forwards. I'm curious, how you see your role in that attack, and what makes the difference. Some games you aren't able to find as many passes into Ebobisse, into Espinosa, and some games you are, and it seems like it works much better. You're able to play much more direct when that happens. What makes the difference on games where you're able to do that and games where you're not?
Te pregunta de tu estilo de ataque, cómo a veces hay partidos donde tal vez te encuentras atacando un poco más y como hay partidos que a veces no. Por ejemplo, el de hoy, mandaste muchas diagonales, mandaste muchos cruces a personas como Christian Espinosa, Jeremy Ebobisse en su momento. Entonces, ¿cómo te sientes tú o cómo puedes tratar de cambiar esa forma al tratar de tal vez buscar más a la delantera, a atacar un poco más?
Bueno, ya tengo 30 años, sé mis virtudes y sé mis deficiencias. Entonces, siempre trato de dar lo mejor en lo que yo pueda aportar. No sé que tengo un buen pie, así que aprovecho mucho mi bola larga porque doy buenos pases a espalda de la defensa. Tal vez a Jeremy no pude asistirlo mucho porque los defensas también tienen lectura de juego, agrandan con la intención, ya saben, conocen mi juego, que es más de bolas largas. Pero creo que por ahí veo a Christian con más espacio, entonces trato de aprovechar eso, ¿no? Sería absurdo de mi parte darle una bola a Jeremy cuando sé que no hay espacio para que él ataque la espalda, ¿no? En caso contrario, con Christian sí, a él le da mucho espacio a espaldas y eso es lo que yo trato de aprovechar.
I'm 30 years old, so I'm aware of my strengths and my weaknesses. I've been around doing this for quite some time, and I think it all depends on the game that we're having. It would be kind of useless or dumb for me to try to send a ball to Jeremy if maybe he doesn't have as much space as someone like Christian would on the wing. Tonight's somewhat of an example. I was able to find Christian a little bit more on the side, and then Jeremy as well, but maybe I can't really give Jeremy a ball in a different game where he's going to have a hard time trying to grab it if it's more or less like almost falling on his backside and he has to turn around and try to receive it and it's in the middle. So I guess it all depends on the game that is ongoing, but I try to give a little bit more space and try to find the guys on the sides as well. All right, guys, thank you for your questions. Let's go ahead and switch to Spanish now and take a question from Carlos Justis and then a question followed by Pablo Maruri.
Miguel, buenas noches. La última vez que hablamos había sido después del partido del AFC, donde habías anotado el gol y habías hablado de que te gustaría que el siguiente gol fuera más bonito, ¿no? Creo que no puede ser más bonito que este, ¿no? Y además que le da 3 puntos al equipo contra un equipo importante, contra un equipo difícil. Y bueno, para ti en lo personal, seguir sumando de titular y poder sumar así al equipo, supongo que también es una satisfacción grande.
Sí, lógicamente, poder anotar con este gol, que estéticamente sí fue hermoso, y más que todo que sirvió para llevarnos los 3 puntos, ¿no? Eso es lo que me deja muy feliz, y bueno, por la entrega que dimos todos hoy en la cancha, ¿no? Así con este equipo da gusto jugar porque jugamos muy bien, y bueno, gracias a Dios se pudo dar el gol, que también me deja muy contento.
And we'll finish off with Pablo Maruri.
Muy buenas noches, Miguel. Felicitaciones por ese gol. Cuéntanos un poquito de la consistencia de tu juego para anotar el gol esta noche y también cómo este triunfo lo van a llevar para los juegos que viene. Y por último, me gustaría saber a quién le dedicaste este gol. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, sí, lo que venía hablando con mis compañeros después del partido, ¿no? Atacamos mucho por banda, tiramos muchos centros, pero a veces también hay que tener variantes, ¿no? Y una de esas variantes es pegarle fuera del área, ¿no? Que es lo que buscamos hoy. Después del gol tuve 2 ocasiones más que por ahí no me atreví, pero eso es la variante que tenemos que sumarle a nuestro juego, ¿no? Así que creo que es un poco de eso. Y bueno, el gol se lo dedico a mi hijo, ¿no? Que justo antes del partido había hablado con él, le dije que hoy iba a hacer gol, se lo iba a dedicar a él.
All right. Well, thank you, Miguel, for your answers, and thank you, everyone, for your questions. This will conclude tonight's press conference. Thank you, everyone.
All right, guys, as we finish up the press conference here with Miguel Traco, just want to get your thoughts about his response to your questions. Jamin, we'll start with you here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's you kind of what you expect, right? It's I saw an opening, I took it, and glad I hit it well, right? So for the most part, that's the way that those types of shots go. But recognition of the moment is always important, and there's a lot of players who take poor shots in some of those situations or pass up that that type of opportunity because they don't have the confidence. And Traco at this point, I like to borrow a little bit of his answer on I think Alex's questions. I'm 30 now, right? I kind of play within myself. I kind of know what I should do when. And honestly, that's a pretty good answer because he's down there. He knows what he's seeing. He's the pace of the game is one that he can keep up with and play within. And he's sensing the opportunity and he's taking it. Someone else mentioned that he's had 68 caps for Peru and no goals. It might be an indication that the international game is moving a little bit quicker. It's harder to find those opportunities than it would be in a club soccer game in MLS, and that would make a lot of sense. I would take that answer. So again, that's great. I mean, that means it's a good signing for the Earthquakes to have replaced Marcos Lopez with Miguel Traco. I think it was a good signing at the time. A little bit more defensive, but I'm good with that because you can see you're not giving up a lot on the offensive side.
Yeah, even with Marcos Lopez, as great as he was going forward, as successful as he's been in Holland, I think he won the Eredivisie with Feyenoord. He sometimes didn't have as much control defensively, right? I think sometimes he got caught out a little bit more. He was a young teenager when he came to Major League Soccer, so I think that makes sense. But Miguel Traco is in control. And that's what I appreciate so much about Trauco, is that both offensively and defensively, he plays within himself. He plays confidently, and you can count on him. He's not getting caught out all that often. He's not getting in the wrong position. Even though he gets forward, he's not getting beat in behind in a way that we've seen happen with, guys like Paul Maurice sometimes, who are very aggressive going forward. And, we've seen with slower or worse fullbacks who the Quakes have had, on and off over the last few years.
It's nice to have a fullback who's so well balanced, right? One thing that I appreciate about Miguel Traco is we see this in his attitude as well. He's got a lot of humility in his approach to the game, but he also has a lot of humility in his approach to these press conferences. I don't know if you guys remember the last time he spoke to us. One of the things that was asked of him, obviously, because the last time he spoke to us was when he scored that goal, was whether or not he was attempting to shoot. And he said, no, it was just a cross. I wasn't attempting to shoot. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. It was what it was. It ended up in the back of the net. It was a great moment, but I was just trying to cross the ball into my teammates. And so I think that just goes to show like what type of a person he is. And we definitely see that on the field, right? And then the comment, Jamin, as you just referenced to Alex's question, in regards to his age, I think he has a very good understanding of who he is, what type of player he is, and what he brings to this team. And even a bit of his response there in Spanish, he's talking about, look, we got 3 points, and that's the important thing here, right? So I think it's good to see that from a player, and you can see why he is competing for minutes with somebody as good as Paul Marie and Carlos Acapo, having a very good trio of fullbacks there. So as we head into the end of the show here, guys, I want to offer up final thoughts. Jamin, we'll go ahead and go over to you first, and then we'll go to Alex, and we'll bring it back to me. I'll close it out. So, Jamin, what do you think?
Well, take another one off the magic number. I've been saying, if you took a look at my article, that is still the latest article on quakesepicenter.com. I think I took off the patron requirement, but maybe I didn't. Maybe it's just still for patrons. So if you want to see that, you might have to become a patron. But in that, I basically mentioned, hey, the Quakes need to get about 10 more wins to be able to get the job done. Since then, they've been able to chalk a couple. And so, now that magic number is getting better and better. Now, top of the standings, it's a dogfight. So FC Dallas got to finish their midweek game. They're with St. Louis, a game that had been delayed due to weather, and got a win against St. Louis, top of the table, right now, St. Louis. So that was a good win for FC Dallas, considering that they had lost last week at home against Nashville. It's going to be tough to keep up with the top of this table. If the Quakes want that, first round home playoff position, they're going to have to keep winning games like tonight. And the schedule does not get that much easier. Portland is not, Portland of the past, but they're always trouble, particularly when the Quakes have to go on the road. But they get them, was it home next week? Is that what it is? And so you got to take care of that kind of situation. You got to walk away with 3 points in that particular game. But then it's going to get hard. St. Louis is going to be coming in, the Quakes are going to go back out on the road a bit. So, between now and the basically, I would say the Leagues Cup break, quote unquote, it's going to be important for the Quakes to lock in all the points that they have. But here's a very encouraging thing for Quakes fans. Right now, the Quakes have 26 points. The LA Galaxy have less than half. So if you're a Quakes fan, that has got to make you smile a little.
All right. I'm glad that you've brought up that lighthearted fun stat, because I'm about to drop a not so fun fact, which is that you're looking at some absences next week, Jamie. You're looking at an Earthquakes team without the goal scorer who we just talked to, Miguel Traco. You're looking at an Earthquakes team without Jamir Montero, who played very well today. One of the best performances, I think, from Montero all season. He's been quiet. He was not quiet tonight. He was involved in the attack tonight. You're looking at an Earthquakes team, I think, without Carlos Guerrero, if I am not mistaken. You're looking at an Earthquakes team. You're going to have to help me here. Who else might be missing
Traco, Acapo, Gruezo,
Montero.
Montero.
Acapo is the other one. So
I think those are the four.
We're talking about the fullbacks. They're not going to have the fullbacks, and so that's going to make it tough for them. You know, they had full depth tonight, and they're going to have probably minimum depth next weekend against Portland Timbers. And again, this is a Portland Timbers that has not won in 4 games. It's a Portland Timbers that is, you know, going to be challenging for a playoff spot in Major League Soccer. This is going to be a pretty big game for them at home, and if they're going to push for the home playoff spot, they're kind of going to need to be winning all of these home games. And then, I mean, you look at this, I think Jamin's right. You look at this stretch of games, this is huge. I think this, you know, next month or so might just about determine whether or not the Quakes are in the running for a home playoff spot, because they're playing all Western Conference teams. They're going Portland, Houston, who are also in the running for a home playoff spot. You're going St. Louis, you're going Galaxy, you're going LAFC, Seattle Sounders, Vancouver. You know, all of those teams are the teams that the Earthquakes have left before League's Cup break. This is a huge stretch for the Earthquakes to push to the, you know, the top half of that table and see if they can make it happen. So they're going to have some big games coming up, and it's good to see that they're, you know, getting their swagger going. And, you know, we know they can do it against the top team in the league. Can they then go and punish the bottom teams in the league? Can they punish the Portland Timbers? That's what we need to find out. If they're going to be consistent, they're going to put away multiple goals. Tonight, they played well. They still did not go up 2-0. I think they've only been up 2-0. They've only had a 2-goal lead in one game this season. I think that was the 3-0 victory over Sporting Kansas City. And that was the easiest, best performance of the season. If they can just get that second goal in the first half, gentlemen, these games could be very, very different. We wouldn't be talking about Jonathan Mensah substitutions at all. We wouldn't be talking about 6 at the back bunkers at all. We wouldn't be talking about stoppage time goals at all, because they'd have a nice 2-goal cushion. So that's what their task is next season, is to put away a Portland Timbers team that are down.
Before we sign off, you guys want to take this one on? You want to talk about who should step in with those 4 absences?
Well, I think they're pretty limited on options, right? I mean, if we're looking at the players who've come in so far this season, I mean, it's going to be Paul Marie is going to be starting in the match, and then we're probably going to see Tommy Thompson. I mean,
or could be Tanner Beeson. Could be a way to keep Tanner.
It's also going to depend on the situation with Jonah as well. I mean, Lucci did say that he's 100% back, but
Daniel Muni, after his performance against Seattle.
I think we're overthinking it, gents. I think the answer is pretty obvious. I think you put Mensah in, you put Tanner Beeson right back, you put Tommy Thompson left, you put Tanner Beeson left back, you put Paul Marie right back, you put Nico Shakiris in the midfield for Gruezo. We haven't seen Nico Shakiris.
And he wants to start right back
a game this season. Nico Shakiris is going to be the guy coming in for Gruezo. Then up top, it's less clear who replaces Jamiro Montero. Maybe you have to slide in Baldissimo in there. Maybe you try something out with Benji Kikanovic in a number 10 position. That's where it gets tricky.
Time to start Nico Shakiris?
I think you have to. I think you have to.
That's obvious.
90 fit though.
He was going, you know, 30, 40 minutes in these U.S. youth national team games. I don't see why
he wouldn't in that role this season as well. So that's going to be another option for Lucci, depending on how he rates him at the position.
Yeah, we could see Tommy Thompson in 10. I wouldn't be surprised. Would that be my first choice? No, I would not be surprised if that's what it comes to.
Yeah, I think the big question coming into this match is which team we're going to see. Are we going to see the team that was as tenacious as they were tonight, coming out in the second half against Philadelphia Union, or are we going to see the team at home that struggled against the Colorado Rapids, despite the fact that the Rapids had a red card, right? It's going to be
that was not at home, Phil. Thankfully, that was not at home. Thankfully, the Earthquakes fans did not have to endure that one at home.
That was a road match. Thank you for the correction there. I would, you know, for some reason, because it's been like I wanted to be there with at the stadium with you tonight, Alex, but I had to do a set build for a theater production that's coming up out here in the East Bay that I'm a part of. So I couldn't be there at the stadium, and I was thinking like the last time I was over there, and it actually wasn't for Colorado, even though that's what I had in my mind. It was for Dallas. That was the match where Lucci played against his former team.
For context, everyone, Phil is a fantastic actor. And that's why he's able to agree with so many of my opinions with such and so you might have all been aware of that already, but that is the necessary context here.
Yeah. So that's why I couldn't be there at the stadium tonight. And actually, that's the reason why I'm not going to be with you guys, unfortunately, for a couple of these upcoming episodes of the Aftershock. But we will have really solid members of our team filling in.
We will have Alex.
Yeah, well, it'll be an Alex Morgan solo show next week.
I like that. I like how Phil is just casually expanding the number of people in our crew. J-Man was at least 3 or 4 people who thought that I shouldn't ask anything. Reaching Gonzalez tonight. I am now a whole team of hosts
right.
around the Aftershock show.
That's right.
You just do it. You do whatever you want to next week, Alex. My son.
Yeah, it's whatever you want, man.
Will not be here.
Your show. Hey, Alex, I owe you something. Do you remember what that is?
Oh, wow. No way. Phil came back with his homework. Oh, you are
I did.
absolutely warming my heart right now, Phil.
Yeah, and
so Alex, Phil, you need to throw your show times in the Slack. People want to come see you.
I've been kicking around some ideas, but what really got me thinking was when RSL signed Chicho Arango, and I started looking at their depth, and that's where I kind of locked in on, I think, where a possible signing for the Quakes could happen, like a realistic one, right? Like, when you mentioned Diego Luna I think it was after the Dallas game or the Seattle game, one of the two. I was like, damn, I don't think I can come up with a better answer than that. And perhaps this isn't a better answer, but if you take a look at the depth for RSL, they've got a lot of guys in the forward position right now, especially now that they signed Chicho Arango, who is a starting player when he comes in, right? They have I gotta look at the name, Anderson Julio. They have Savarino. And they have Rubio Rubin, right? All of these guys have been getting starts throughout the season. There is one player that I have not mentioned who actually has ties to the San Jose Earthquakes already. That is Danny Musovski. Yeah.
Musovski. Yeah.
So, and he actually, so going back to some of the comments I made a couple of weeks ago about the kind of player that I think the Quakes need to bring into the team, especially in the attacking position and the forward position, it's the type of player that is a game changer, somebody who is like his specialty is positioning. It's like a Wondolowski type, except coming off of the bench. And I feel like Danny Musovski kind of fits that, right? He's not necessarily like a big striker in the way that I thought like a Will Bruin would fit well. A Will Bruin type would fit well into this team coming late in the game. But he is somebody who is very savvy, and he scored a lot of goals. He scored a lot of goals for Reno 1868. He scored a lot of goals off the bench for LAFC in his time there, 11. And he has scored a couple of goals for RSL, but he hasn't been getting the time, and that's the issue. So my thing is, like, if you have that much depth in the position, this is a player who they could be looking to offload here in the summer transfer window. And I think it would be the perfect opportunity for the Earthquakes to pick somebody up. Now, let me add one other thing here. I'm not the expert on this stuff. I would say that you guys know more than I do. Colin probably knows more than any of us. So I don't know how all the mechanisms work, but I do know that RSL paid $250,000 in GAM for Danny Musovski from LAFC, and his stock has not gone up necessarily since that time. So this could be a really good opportunity to pick up an experienced MLS player who brings another dimension to the attack and actually has ties to the organization, including working with Ian Russell when he was at Reno 1868. Ian Russell, who is currently an assistant coach for the Earthquakes.
You're killing it, Phil. Phil, that was a great shout, and I think with Arango getting there, there might have to be some other pieces that move at Real Salt Lake, and so then it would make a lot of sense for someone like Musovski or Luna to seek elsewhere. That's a good call. The other team, I should say, that might be having a fire sale, Inter Miami. We might see Inter Miami needing to shuffle things around. I'm looking at guys like Leonardo Campana, who is a good player. He's a forward. He could add some dynamic, goals to this team. I think that's a guy that Chris Leach should have his eyes all over right now to see what he can get out of Inter Miami as they're offloading players to account for Messi. Now, look, I don't know what to believe coming out of Inter Miami anymore, but I do know that there have been some rumors that he's looking for a transfer. The club is looking to move Campana. So that's another option. And in an ideal world, I would say the Earthquakes would look for one of those guys who's kind of a known quantity in MLS, sign one of those guys. I think Musovski and Campana would both be good signings to add pieces to this attack within the league, interleague signings. I think on top of that, I'd love to see one more international signing, a lesser known quantity, a younger player who the Earthquakes could take a chance on and who could develop into a really surprising and new piece to this offense. So I think 2 additions are on my bucket list, and one of them would be a kind of known MLS quantity player, and then a younger player from another continent.
There's a couple other interesting names that you had already mentioned there with RSL too, Alex, that I think could be very interesting. Anderson Julio is a player that has that type of dynamicism from a winger position that you would want if Cade Cowell does go to Europe. Then and you're looking to go in league. With Arango coming in, might Anderson Julio be available in the market would be a really good question. So I think there are some interesting options there. And absolutely. RSL is one place to look, and Inter Miami's another. The Quakes could use a bit of depth in a lot of places. To be honest, I think we're all very focused on the attacking positions, and what we've talked about before, that kind of 8-10 role, as well as the left wing, particularly if Cade does end up moving to Europe in the window. So it's going to be a really interesting time, and I think we're going to know a lot after we get through the next few weeks in terms of what the upside of this particular team is, and the signing that's going to be able to make the biggest impact.
Hey, I heard a guy named Angel Di Maria is looking to come to Major League Soccer. I heard that Luis Suarez.
He's a decent winger. Di Maria's been a decent winger.
They call San Jose the Miami of the West Coast, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
How dare you? No. All right.
If there's one day in this calendar year where we can let our imaginations run wild, Phil, surely it is after Lionel Messi comes to Major League Soccer. Okay. Surely this is the week to let us live our fantasies.
Okay.
All right. I think the fans are disagreeing over potential acquisitions here, but they're having.
Oh no! I'm seeing some names in the chat. Oh, I'm embarrassed for the folks in the chat right now.
I'm not even going to bring them up. I don't.
Stop. Some bad ones there. Stop. That one too, Andy. I'm sorry. Nope.
Ooh, what do you think of this one?
No thanks.
Shot down.
Not a fan of Kevin.
Tough luck.
Not this.
He's a talented player, but look. Danny Musovski, Anderson Julio, these guys are 27. They're in their prime. This is the kind of player that the Quakes need to sign. One player that that RSL has in their depth that I didn't even mention is Krylock, like 34 years old. Like we just don't need to be bringing in players like that who are pretty much past the point where they're going to be effective. Bring
in a player with some upside. You might, if they develop and do well over the next couple of years, might be able to move them for a little bit more, right? Just put them into the right position where they can succeed. And I think Lucci's offense, gives that opportunity to a dynamic winger. Right? He very much focuses on a winger-based attack. And, if Cade does move on, it's certainly you want to get a very dynamic player to replace him.
Okay, here's my attempt to salvage a Krylock type player, because something that we've mentioned is the Earthquakes could be useful to have a bigger player who can physically hold the ball up in these end of game situations, who can first of all add some threats aerially, and second of all who can body their defender, hold up the ball, and really give a target 9, a traditional target 9 who can cause problems. Are
you saying bring back Kamara?
No.
Is that what you're trying to say here, Alex?
I wouldn't rule it out, Jamin. I think that in what's interesting is there are individual skill sets that it's very clear this team needs, and that is one of them. The other being a winger who can take 1v1, and the third being a 10 who can connect passes and who can distribute the ball. Those are the top 3 priorities for me right now, those skill sets. And maybe you can find a player who can do both. If you, a couple players in the league who I think could be capable of playing in the 10 position and also adding, that strength up top, thinking of a Klaus type player who could do that. So we'll see. I think Chris Leach is going to have his hands full with all the business he needs to get done.
Okay, well, that was great. We are a little long in the tooth here. If folks have other comments or other players that they have ideas about, really love to see it in the Slack. So make sure you check out quakesepicenter.com, the Patreon. Come and join us, $5 a month. You can join us with the Slack, and your money it goes towards ensuring that we can continue to bring this coverage of the San Jose Earthquakes to you. We had some really great coverage starting in the preseason this year, and we've expanded that all throughout the season. We have the ability to go to the games I am somewhat local. I'm out here in Pittsburgh, so oftentimes I drive over there. Alex is home right now from school, so he's able to go there to the games. And then oftentimes we'll have Jamin come and travel down as well. Or
Robert's been there for a few games this season too, as when he's able to be there. So
exactly.
Yep. So I will be away at Vancouver. I'm planning to be away at the Timbers, probably for Leagues Cup. Probably not for the midweek, just because it's Portland midweek. It's just a bit of a haul. So yeah, we've got some away game coverage still to come this season for sure.
Yeah.
And
there's a
playoffs.
lot to do.
Going to keep a little bit of stash there for the playoffs.
That's right.
Looking good right now.
It's looking good right now. I think the Quakes haven't hosted a playoff home game since 2012?
2012. Since they
winning season.
Hosted the Galaxy in leg 2.
I remember that. Robbie Keane played at Buckshaw Stadium. I clearly remember being behind the goal when he scored. Okay, so let's go ahead and sign off here, guys. I want to advise everybody once again, check out quakesepicenter.com. Follow us on social media at Quakes Epicenter on Twitter and on Instagram. And for those of you who are with us tonight on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. Turn on those notifications to remind you to join us after every Quakes match. And also, so you can check out our midweek content like the interview that Jamin had with Joel Soria. And you can find out more information about that and his role and Joel's thoughts about his hiatus from the team and how he wants to move forward with the San Jose Earthquakes. You got to check out the interview if you want to find out what he says. And then the last thing, again, I want to go back to the point about the players. If you have ideas about the players, come and join us in the Slack chat. Give us your ideas there, and we will weigh them with you. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We will be back with you after the game against the Portland Timbers. We'll see you next week.